Welcome, welcome everybody to another week of Game Wisdom Live. It's going to be for the week of September 14th, 2017. Joining me as always is streamer and my original co-founder of Indie Voyage, Robert Leach.
Hi, how's it going?
I am going well, Rob. It's been a crazy week in terms of presentations, new technology, and me catching up to the year 2011. So it's
Yeah,
been interesting. How have you been?
I've been good. Yeah, it's there's a lot going on, it seems, in everyone's lives at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just trying to set things up so I can see the chat. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
me too. Let me get that going there. Make it a
Okay.
little bit bigger for people to see. So yeah, it has been a very interesting week. So first off, for those of you who missed it, I did my first presentation of the fall season on Tuesday at one of the libraries around here. It went pretty well. We had about 8 people showing up for it. They didn't send the announcement out until like the morning of, so I think that kind of hurt attendance. But I guess the nice thing was that 8 people signed up saying they wanted to see it, and all 8 showed up, which was good. I got a contact from someone who does like programming and does his own presentations. I think down in Ocean County, which is like Atlantic City. It's even further south from where I'm at. So I sent them an email to see if they would be interested in my presentation. So fingers crossed on that part. And hey, Oscar, thanks for coming on. And I'm still waiting to hear back from the second library system. I guess what's very interesting is I'm also waiting to hear back regarding GDC. Because usually around like the 15th of September is when I get the "we don't want you" email. So I haven't heard anything yet, so that may be a good sign. Now, of course, with that said, I'll get the email as we're finishing up the live talk. I can just feel it.
Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's
I,
good.
Me too. Also, in terms of technology, I finally got my hands on a smartphone. Look at me, I'm now like everybody else on the planet at this point. So I made a little announcement video earlier saying that I'm now open to reviewing and checking out mobile games or iOS games here for the channel. So for those of you watching this, if you are a mobile developer or have some suggestions for some games to play, please let me know. As I said in the video, I am looking for more of the quality titles. So please don't send me anything like Kim Kardashian's Hollywood or Clash of Clans. Although we could
Hey, you can't get rid of the top money earners in the world.
I don't know, maybe instead of doing a Dark Souls Let's Play, we'll do Kim Kardashian's Hollywood. That will be the next Let's Play here for the stream. I'm sure everyone will enjoy that one.
We got to get you into vainglory.
Yes. I did download, I tried Pocket Morty's out, Fire Emblem Heroes, this idle game called Idle Heroes, I think it was called. And I guess they're okay. I'm just not really the mobile kind of person in terms of wanting to play a game and then get hit with the microtransactions.
Mm.
And the gacha design of Fire Emblem Heroes is definitely rubbing me the wrong way. Even though I just started playing it, I can already see, where the money is going to be going in that game. Like, if you don't get a 5-star hero in a game built on rock, paper, scissors balance, it's like you're kind of in deep trouble there. Like, if I'm going to deal with gacha design, I'd rather do it with something like Idle Heroes, where I know it's just, I click it and things go. Like, I don't need to worry about, like, strategy and gameplay. Like, imagine something like Dark Souls, where if you don't get the +5 or 5-star club at the beginning, you can't beat any of the enemies.
Yeah, mobile games are a little on the weird side. I mean, like I said, I think you should try Vainglory. It's a MOBA.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very, I mean, it had a tournament recently. I've been watching the replays of it. I don't know what the prize was, but it was certainly interesting watching basically 13 to 16-year-olds competing on esports for money. But it is it's a high-end game.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly a lot of good. One of the games I really like playing is the old Roller Coaster Tycoons. They ported those to mobile, and you can find some of the old school adventure games starting to come out on mobile. So there's a lot of retro stuff there, and there's certainly a lot of new high end titles that people are pouring money into because it is these days it is taking the place of handheld devices and that kind of thing.
I hope not, because I just downloaded the demo for Etrian Odyssey 5. I told you about the Etrianasi series before, right, Rob?
I don't think so. Maybe you did. It's not ringing a bell.
That's the Japanese or JRPG take of the Wizardry series, where you're building a party of 5 people, and there's some big dungeon in the distance. Go explore it. That's basically the whole story of it. And they put in like very different and unique classes, so it's not just warrior, mage, priest. Like in Etriancy 5, one thing I'm really loving is there's now a necromancer class who his whole ability is that he can summon spirits which take a new front line in your party and then they attack automatically. And you can also sacrifice them to heal or to do fire or poison damage, stuff like that. I will say with Etriancy 5, at least from the demo, it feels a lot more streamlined compared to the previous four. Like, for those of you who didn't play them, when you play the Etriancy games, the character trees for all their skills and whatnot, it usually takes up 2 screens on the DS or the 3DS just to get through all those skills. This one is just down to 1 screen's worth of skills. So I'm not sure if they're going to add additional forms of customization like further into the game. It's a demo, so I can only play up until like probably the second floor. So there may be more there, but it just feels weird the fact that I'm not seeing like this massive all-encompassing skill tree to build my characters around.
Yeah, that does seem odd. I mean, I really appreciate a massive skill tree with a lot of dimensions and stuff, and then when it pairs down from that, I would feel a little ripped off, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with that, because usually the series has very complicated skill trees. Like the ones before, just again they fill like 3 to 4 pages of screens of all these different skills, and then some skills require other skills, and so on. There's a new system where characters kind of like tag team with each other to perform special attacks. And it's still going to be very interesting to see because the Etrianasi series, as I've talked about, it started out being very niche. Like, I remember seeing like IGN Nintendo gave it like a 3 out of 10, saying it's too hard, no one's going to like this. And then like right around like Etrianasi, I think 4 on the 3DS was when it really started to reignite in popularity. Then they did the re-releases. So this one that's coming out is going to be like the first like actual sequel to it, following this kind of resurgence of it.
It's cool. I mean, I really do have to look it up. I will have to ask you just to send me the name of that, or Etrian. How do you spell that? I'm gonna look it up now.
Etrian. I've played it so many times I've got committed to memory now. And also this week, I'm surprised no one told me this, but the game Cook Serve Delicious 2 came out.
Oh, yeah. I haven't gotten it. I just loved the first one a lot.
Yeah, me too. And here's something that's very interesting. I actually want to get the opinion from the folks in chat. As you know, I did a attempted play of Dark Souls 2 earlier this week that got me crushed and killed fairly easily, but they just put the director's cut of it on sale for $10, which I think that's the cheapest I've seen it at. And the director's cut not only enhances the graphics, but they just did like a full-on rebalancing of the entire game. And I'm just wondering, for you folks watching, would you like to see a Scholar of the First Sin Let's Play on the channel? Because I would be going into that pretty much sight unseen. It has all the DLC of the game, all the rebalancing that never made into the original Dark Souls 2 that I got. So for those of you watching this right now live, or even recorded, because I have until the 18th to decide, let me know what you think. Because originally it was going to be $40 or $30 to buy it, but $10 is a lot more, it's a lot easier to justify there. But, let me see, Cook Serve Delicious 2, there it is. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the first one as well. You know, it was one of the first games I spotlit on Game Wisdom.
Oh, so, yeah.
I send them an email for a press key. I'm hoping I get it. If not, I may just have to break down and buy it myself, because I really did enjoy that one. And I did send an email to, I know someone asked me about the game A Robot Named Fight, which is kind of like a Metroidvania game. I haven't heard anything back from that one. But I did get several games here that are all embargoed and like up until the end of September. So if I go through this, we have Vaporum, which was kind of like a Legend of Grimrock, wizardry kind of RPG. Let's see. I was just playing this one earlier called Morphite, which is a first-person kind of like a adventure game and action adventure game in space. Like you fly around to planets, but it's more about you like scanning resources and upgrading your ship and your character. And it seems to be like there's an actual narrative going on with you trying to, I think, like find a super rare resource.
Huh.
It's interesting. It's one of those games that I don't think it's going to be a huge, like, massive appeal, but I think to the people who it clicks to, I think they're going to enjoy it. And one game I'm really excited about that I believe the embargo ends on the 16th, so I guess that will be Saturday, is Super Hydra. This is the game from Loco Maltio, the ones who made Curse Castalia. And it's basically him doing an elevated take on the old school R-type, the shoot-'em-up genre.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So I am really excited to actually show that game off. I actually finished it already, just like when I just sat and beat the whole thing. But I couldn't record anything. Oh, wait, it's not the 16th, it's the 18th. Darn. So I gotta wait at least a few more days before I can do anything with that one. And I'm sure there's a few more that I am forgetting. I just showed off the game Samurai Riot, which I didn't really like that much. It was like a beat 'em up, like old Double Dragon, Streets of Rage kind of design. And it just didn't seem to hit what made those games work. Yes, have you played any beat 'em ups, Rob?
Oh, I mean, yes, a lot of them all forever ago. I saw that you were doing some old school. Was it Streets of Rage the other day?
Yeah.
That caught my eye. That kind of stuff. I mean, I grew up with it. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Simpsons,
Oh, yes.
the X-Men, and boy, of course, Streets of Rage, Final Fights,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, El Gordo was telling me about this last night. There's a game called Dinosaurs and Cadillacs, or Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
That's
And
funny.
the strange thing was I actually knew about beforehand because I saw someone playing through. I'm like, wait, this was a game? How did I miss that one? But I remember stuff like Sunset Riders, as you said, The Simpsons. Yeah, I really love the beat 'em up genre. I'm kind of surprised we don't see more of those, especially with online play. Because I think that would be amazing. I guess here's one. The last one I remember playing, like as a modern one, was they did a Scott Pilgrim versus the World beat 'em up
Oh,
game.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one was pretty good too.
Yeah, the one I don't know how I forgot the Behemoth one. That one was
Castle
Castle
Crashers.
Crashers. Yeah, that one was hilarious. I love the sense of humor there. That was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Golden Axe. Sorry.
Yeah, and apparently there's three of them. Like I think someone was surprised. I was like, wait, there's three of them?
Hmm.
Oh, so the newest River City Ransom, they did a update version of that one, has online play to it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, River City Ransom was an interesting one. One of like the first games to kind of have like an RPG element to it. Let's see. Eh. I know they had some trouble like the music copyright, which led to like this whole issue. I think we've talked about. That was like a case back in I think August or July, but I think they're back up. So yeah, it's still up and selling. So good on them. Let's see what we got here. Oh, not update. It's a sequel. My mistake. And Mother Russia Bleeds. I've heard a few things about that. I would like to get a press copy of that one, but for some reason, like two publishers I've had trouble with are Adult Swim Games and Devolver. Like they will not return any of my emails, which is so weird.
That is strange. I mean, they do great games, or at least Devolver certainly does. Adult Swim, definitely some good ones, mostly weird ones. I did see. I feel like I saw a preview or something on Mother Russia Bleeds. I don't remember if it was online or where, but I do recognize that name.
Let's see. Oh, I'm looking at the reviews of Coke Serve Delicious too. It's very weird. There's a lot of negative reviews for it.
Oh, really? I heard earlier on a Discord I'm a part of. They were chatting about it, and someone said it didn't seem too much different from the first one, and I could feel like that would be a little bit disappointing for me.
Mm. They're saying that it feels like it's unfinished, which is
Hmm.
very interesting there. And it's we've talked about this before, but it's always challenging knowing when to release a game, especially when you're building a sequel and you have to decide,
Yeah,
how much new stuff am I going to add? And
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like at the same time, I mean, he did a really good job of updating the first one and adding content all the time.
Hmm.
So I wonder if it became a balance of that, like he was leaving the first one, ignored too long, or I imagine that that's a tough decision to make too.
Yeah. And that actually gives me or leads me to a very interesting question. We'll get your thoughts on, Rob, as well as for the folks watching. When it comes to designing a sequel to a game, regardless of the genre design, do you feel that the sequel should incorporate like everything that was in the first game? Because we've seen cases where people will feel that if you remove so and so from the sequel, that it's not really a sequel to this game. But on the other hand, we've seen cases where sequels will go in a different direction, and some cases may actually exceed what happened with the first game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the best one to point at is Final Fantasy. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, no, those games had certainly aspects that were similar, but the characters were very different. I mean, certainly when they went back and decided to do 7-2 and 10-2, and they actually had sequels on the
I
original
know.
title. Like that's one thing, but they changed the world, they changed the world events,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much everything. But I agree with El Gordo there that the yeah, only put the best things. I think that that is, you got to
Yeah.
keep what worked. In the case of Final Fantasy, it was like the systems and the core mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
and then they added to it and polished it over time. But yeah, I feel like you play a game.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, there's story there that you enjoy, but there's also the gameplay itself. Because if
Mm-hmm.
it's just the story you like, you should watch a movie. If that's there's that big difference between the two media. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, improve it as well. Like that's what you're looking for. You're looking for
Yeah.
something that's the same but better, gives you the same experience, the same feel, but more.
Yeah.
And it's hard to describe what that
I
more
know.
needs to be.
Yeah, and that I think is a really good segue, like talking about what Firaxis did with XCOM to XCOM 2. Like the difference in XCOM 2 is that they removed the whole flying system, which was pretty much one of the core elements of the original XCOM. And XCOM 2 was kind of their way of basically being original. Because the original XCOM Enemy Unknown was their way of saying, we're going to take XCOM and we're going to modernize it for today's audience. XCOM 2 is them saying, okay, now we're going to add our own unique spin on it. And I think XCOM 2 is definitely better than XCOM 1, especially with the expansion, which I've been slowly but surely going through every night. Like play like a few missions to get stressed out. Like I can't do this anymore. I need to go to sleep. But like with XCOM 2, like as Agordo said, like they basically went exactly through that. They said, okay, what works, what didn't work. Let's remove what doesn't work or try and fix it. But we just want to, iterate on everything. And War of the Chosen, or excuse me, War of the Chosen, is just like a massive iteration on XCOM 2, and it works really well with it.
Oops. Yeah, I have to say that that is one of the gaping holes in
Mm-hmm.
my gaming is XCOM. I might have mentioned it sometime
Mm-hmm.
before. So basically, everything that people say about XCOM, I have to imagine in my brain
Mm-hmm.
what that refers to, because
Yeah.
it is one of those things that I just have very little knowledge about, and it is
Mm-hmm.
to my dismay, I suppose. I really do need to go. I actually think I must have it in my library somewhere. How could I not? Right?
Mm.
I mean, so yeah, I have all of XCOM and then Enemy Unknown, Enforcer, Interceptor, Apocalypse, Terror from the Deep, UFO Defense. None of them installed. So yeah, it's homework. It's homework.
Lots and lots of homework there. Yeah, if my computer can handle it, I would love to stream or record it, but even with the updates they've made, my computer is just still like chugging along, trying to
Yeah.
load that game up.
Yeah, and I don't want to jump topics. We were kind of chatting about that earlier on the
Hmm.
about the cloud thing.
Yeah. And yeah, as Rob was saying, we had some very interesting things pop up on our Discord channel. And again, for those of you watching, if you would like to get in, it's simply $1 or more pledge to patreon.com/GWBicer will get you a link to it. But there were some very interesting announcements out of Nintendo. This week they of course did their a Nintendo Direct again, which is when they all of course do like big announcements and reveals regarding Nintendo related products. Besides what we're about to talk about, they also announced that I believe Doom and the new Wolfenstein game are coming to the Switch.
I saw that.
That is very interesting, like in of itself. But what was brought up is regarding Phantasy Star Online 2 is going to be coming to the Switch. It was shown on their Japanese stream. And not only is it going to be coming out, but it's going to be free to play. And they're considering it's going to be a cloud game, which means that you won't need to download any software. You're basically going to supposedly just stream it directly onto the system itself. And that's definitely a very interesting case. I think one, having it be free to play on Nintendo Switch, and of course the fact that it's going to be supposedly cloud based. So, what do you think about that, Rob?
Well, yeah, earlier I was very doubtful about the cloud base, and then like over the like a course of a minute and a half, I turned from being very, angry about it into being, oh my God, I can't wait, because it just like what you said about your computer, it can't handle this, it can't handle that. Well, it doesn't matter if it's all cloud based. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can get rid of your video card. You don't have to spend $1,000 on a video card because it's someone else's video card doing the work. And I find that
Mm-hmm.
that is I if that's the future, let's bring it as fast as possible
Mm-hmm.
because that allows all of us to play the very best titles
Yeah.
at the very highest resolution that our monitors can handle anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to invest so much money. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of ridiculous how much entertainment you can get for the same amount you could like a cable bill. You can split up and now watch Netflix and Hulu and HBO Now and
Mm-hmm.
um, any number of other things. Oh, and Prime, Amazon Prime, and now I can have a subscription here. And I know it's not available everywhere, but I'm sure near where you are, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
To allow groceries to be delivered the next day, whatever you
Yeah.
want, basically. And now the ability to play games from someone else's computer on a subscription basis. I think you had I forget the fella's name that you had brought up, who's planning to have a similar service, but
It was I think David Perry, but
yeah.
I don't know if anything new has come of it since the last time I heard about it.
Yeah, I just think that is something I very much look forward to because yeah, keeping up with the hardware is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um, oh, and then yeah, talking about the microtransactions, yes, for free to play games, microtransactions can be very bad, but I am excited about that technology of doing cloud-based game streaming because it just opens everything up.
Mm-hmm. And I did say the wrong thing on the stream or on the Discord. It's Gaikai, Giakai. That's the one that's supposed to be the
Uh,
cloud. Yeah, all the news about seems to be just like from 2012, 2014. So I think that may have actually became PlayStation Now, from what they're saying.
oh, cool.
But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. I would love to see it because I want to upgrade my computer, but it's going to be several $100s at least
Oh, at
to
least
get
yeah.
it to the point of not only just playing video games, but if I actually want to stream them, I have to go above because obviously streaming is going to be a lot more intensive on your computer.
Yeah, and the question is like, do you want to future-proof it a little bit and just go
Mm,
4K, or do you want to just kind of keep up and spend the minimal amount to get something good?
mm-hmm.
It's such a huge question. Certainly, I spent a lot of money years ago, and my
Oh
computer
yes.
still kind of holds up, but I don't know if I can afford that again. So we'll,
Uh,
we'll
I'm
see how it all goes.
I'm pretty sure I spent maybe close to $1,000 on on this computer, and that was about 9, maybe 10 years ago. Was when
Wow.
I got all the parts for this one. But yeah, like if I want to do it again, I don't know if I have that money in me to do it. Because if I do it again, I rather future proof it. Because the less time I spend digging into this thing and pulling stuff out and putting stuff in, the better for me.
Yeah. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you put like $1,500 into the top notch,
It's already.
glowing with all the neon,
Hmm.
um, then yeah, it's already out. The cloud
Yeah.
thing's out, and you're like, damn it.
Yeah. Exactly. Let me see another game, and we have a few more topics I also want to bring up from our Discord channel. We'll talk about in the next few minutes. Oh, here's a weird game that I played this week called Maze After the Corn. It was a first-person, I guess we can call it a walking simulator, unless we can all agree on a more, I guess, a friendly term for it. And it basically has you dealing with sentient corn and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. It's completely insane, irrelevant comedy kind of thing. It was okay. Again, like there's no puzzles to it or nothing that would require you to actually think for more than a second. But it was alright. I will say I really like the environmental design. They went with the whole, the environment tells a story of what's going on. So
Oh,
the
that's
whole
good.
place is completely screwed up and messed up because apparently one of the co-founders of the place was a complete idiot who just like had no sense of design. So there's like 10 different lobbies in the place because he felt lobbies are where people want to go. So we'll just put them here. Or a
That's funny.
wall ends with a lobby panel because they ran out of money. And at one point, you come to a sound booth because they decide to raise money by forming a 80s hair metal band or a glam rock band and did a power ballad in there. But
That's funny.
like if you're looking for anything of gameplay worth it, it's just not there. It's basically a like 2 to 3 hour story you're gonna follow. Let's see. I did get the a press key from my friend Z over at Serenity Forge. He sent me over for their upcoming game. So make sure I get the right name. Where was it? Here is Mystic Melee. It's kind of like a speed running platformer, kind of like Dust Force, or a very not as difficult as something like Super Meat Boy kind of game.
Hmm.
And I played a little bit of it. It's all right. He told me not. He would like me to wait at least a little bit closer to the release date when it goes on early access on September 18th. Jeez, now I realize September 18th is going to be very busy for me in terms of games to play. But I'll probably make a video or do a stream of it then. And the same goes for Super Hydra. Let's see. I just played a game that gave me the inspiration for tomorrow's critical thought about open-ended tutorials and why I'm not a fan of them. Like when the
Hmm.
tutorial just gives you no guidance whatsoever about what's going on in the game. And it's not good when the game itself is complicated and you have no idea what you're looking at.
Yeah, yeah. I know that there's a lot of people who believe that the tutorial should just not exist,
Mm,
or that or that the tutorial should be so embedded in the game that you don't even notice it. And I agree. If you can get away with that,
mm-hmm.
excellent. Then you don't bring the person out of the environment. But chances are you can't,
Yeah.
and you should just be upfront with it and get it over with, because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it's gonna be painful. Because you got to be perfect with it, or else it's just gonna be painful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and someone commented on my video when I did about Cuphead saying, "Oh, you just want all tutorials to be for idiots." It's like, no, there has to be a structure to it. And you have to be able to explain to the player what your game is about or how are people
Mm.
going to learn it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the of some kind of function of skipping the tutorial,
Mm-hmm.
because I do believe it has to be ground up. No, I mean, it doesn't have to say, well, this is a controller. Like that's not your job to tell someone what a controller is. But at the same time, like you do have to say, well, A to jump, X to slide, or whatever. Um, or you just let someone skip it if they feel like they know everything or they want to discover it on their own. Just
Mm-hmm.
let them skip it, because I'm also not a fan of being forced to do things in a game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, there has to be a balance between the two. Like, I only need a 10-minute tutorial of how to move on an analog stick. But if you're if your game is something that no one's ever seen before, I kind of want to be held by the hand to figure out just what it is I'm looking at here.
Hmm.
Let's see. Anything else regarding that? Yes, and I agree with you on that, Elgordo, that a skip tutorial should be a requirement if you're repeating a game. Because I don't need to repeat. Like, that's one of the things that drove me crazy about Borderlands 2 and having to repeat the whole first area, which is entirely linear. I've got it down to just like memorizing the entire area because I did so many times. If your game is meant to be replayed like that, you need to have a skip tutorial or, skip the first level of the game kind of option.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Is there anything else regarding the tutorial or anything like that? I'm trying to think if there's anything else like game-wise. Oh, and for those of you watching their live record, if you have any suggestions, again, for games for me to check out, of course, let me know. Like I said, I've tried emailing a few developers. I haven't heard anything back from some of them yet, but you never know. Maybe I'll get something over the weekend. Like I said, I'm really hoping I can get that Cook Sir Delicious 2 key, because
Yeah.
I was watching someone play earlier, of course, while I was eating dinner. I was getting hungrier while I was watching it.
I gotta say, I was very impressed. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong here, but he made that on Game Maker. Is that not correct?
I don't know, honestly.
Because I think that is one of the games that was made on Game Maker that did really well. And what impressed me about it, and also what I underline when people ask me about things like Game Maker, is I say, well, you don't have to be a programmer, but you do have to think logically and know how a game is made. And he has taken that to the nth degree, because it looks like a game that has no, underlying build upon platform. Because it's not a platformer, it's not it's not a shmup, it's not any of that kind of stuff. He made it his own. It's very it embraces itself. It doesn't look like it was made on Game Maker, but if I recall in my reading and my looking up on it, it was a Game Maker game, and I was just kind of blown away because look, someone who used Game Maker to actually make a game instead of just take the tutorial and expand upon it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but if anyone knows that in chat, let us know. But there are a few topics that we were talking about before that I think would be good to bring up here. So the first one has to do with kind of the, I guess, fallout from PewDiePie's recent, outrage that happened on livestream, to put it mildly. And the developer behind Firewatch, Campo Santo, basically, in order to, I guess, disassociate themselves from PewDiePie, issued a DMCA against his video of Firewatch. Now, of course, this was after it was done. This came out months ago, and it's kind of led to a very interesting discussion on fair use. And again, that very termiculous, I can't even think of the term, tenuous, there we go, relationship between YouTubers and streamers and the game developers themselves. So, I guess the first thing, as someone who's done publishing, has been in the game industry, Rob, what do you think about the use of the DMCA in this regard?
That one's tough. I mean, it's always tough when that kind of thing comes up. I agree wholeheartedly with any entity wanting to distance themselves from another one for a specific purpose, whether or not I don't like whether or not I like that purpose. The way I look at it is, if this person doesn't like you and doesn't want you interacting with their stuff, why would you want that to happen? Why would you force that to happen? So at a certain point, if this person didn't like the fact that if I, again, don't know the specifics, I feel like it was some kind of racist slur or something along those lines. I could be completely wrong about context and all that stuff. I just hear what I hear, but this is the topic at hand, is just this particular area. If someone doesn't like it and someone knows that you had something to do with their product, I feel it's completely okay to distance yourself from them. But this is kind of like the nuclear option. It's like saying, well, take it down, please. If you say take it down, please, and they don't take it down, well, you can either say, well, shrug, and you write something about it. Well, I really wanted him to take it down, but he didn't. Or you can say, well, yank it down. I'm going to do so legally. Or else, exactly. So that I can see causing a lot of problems. So I feel like the one thing you don't want to do in that circumstance is make yourself the bad guy. I feel like you're taking a stand, and that's great, a moral stand. But try not to become the enemy of everybody at the same time. There's a balance to be had. I understand it, and I'm okay with it to a point, but it is extreme, and you don't want that to be like a habit.
And I think what rubbed a lot of people the wrong way about the Firewatch developer, again, Campo Santo, is that this was something that happened, months ago. Like, this isn't him doing a video like today and saying we'll want it. Like, you've
Mm-hmm.
already gotten the publicity, you've already gotten your money out
Yeah.
of PewDiePie's impression. So it kind of seems like you're just trying to bolster yourself by saying now we're going to disassociate ourselves with him. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of parallels to be derived from
Yeah.
other things out in the world. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, to bring in the example, which is an old example, I know there's more recent ones of Tiger Woods, for example, where everybody stepped away from him. Um, all the like everybody dropped him as a marketing and stuff, uh, because of his because of the
Mm-hmm.
kind of the oh gosh, adulterous issues that came up with him. And,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you think about that, marketing people stepped away and they had contracts with them and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So here I feel like it's similar, um, but different. I mean, yes, he had a contract. He got, well, not a contract, but he got
Mm-hmm.
something out of the original review that it doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is as simple as just being a moral stance,
Mm-hmm.
but kind of done the wrong way.
Yeah.
You could just say, hey, you know what? I appreciate what he's done in the past, but that's kind of how it is. The president also had the same problems where he shoved a lot of people away. That kind of just that fallout you got to expect
Mm-hmm.
when you rub people the wrong way. But it is. It's like
Mm-hmm.
someone saying, well, I went and like if you talk to Tiger Woods, like I went and watched you play golf. I want my money back, like from years ago. I saw Bill Cosby in concert in Las
Mm-hmm.
Vegas, like decades ago. I can't go to him and say, "Hey, I want your money back," because I don't like what you've done to
Mm-hmm.
my childhood now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, But there are other ways to take that moral stand.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Rob, that I think they handled it the wrong way. Like, if they would have said, we request PewDiePie take down his video, we don't want it anymore, and then he doesn't do it, then this would be different. This is, again, as you said, this is just going directly to the nuclear option and the scorched earth tactic.
Hmm.
Now, the other side of this, of course, and what El Gordo was talking about in chat, is as we said, the fallout from that. And there have been people who have been review bombing Firewatch, which, for those of you who don't know what that term is, that is when a bunch of users will either change their positive review to negative or just massively spam the game with negative reviews in order to either make a point or force a developer to do something. In some cases, this could be, I know a PC Gamer talked about, I forget what game it was, but because it didn't come, it was being shipped in China without Chinese localization, that the game was review bombed because of it. But then you have cases like this with, because Firewatch or Campo Santo said they don't want PewDiePie anymore, everyone's coming to PewDiePie's defense by basically, again, review bombing them. So it's just a very nasty situation all around.
Yeah, that sounds like, the same thing. It's just the same thing, but they're doing it to the developer now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you took the nuclear option. Well, we're mad, so we're going to do the exact same thing to you. And I mean that it seems like a weird reaction to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I understand the reaction for someone who made a very racist comment, and really needs to dial that back. But at the same time, going after someone who's trying to take a moral stand that
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can agree with it, you don't agree with it, but it's not extreme enough, I feel like, to demolish a game that you might like. At least I don't think so. I could be
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
Yeah.
But it's very much, what offends you and how you react to it, I suppose. So,
Mm-hmm. And that's the very tricky thing when it comes to this kind of review bombing, because, as we've talked about before, due to what it means to own a digital game, consumers don't really have a lot of options if something goes wrong.
yeah.
Like, if a developer releases a patch that breaks a game, then they refuse to fix it. Or if a game is released that is broken, such as Batman Arkham City on the PC. When that was released, it was unplayable for a vast majority of people, and they review bombed it enough to get Valve to take the game down. But, is this an effective weapon in that case, or is this causing more harm than good?
Yeah, I feel like it's a gamer shooting themselves in the foot
Hmm.
for something that is really that's a topic that needs to be discussed.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, I can't say, you know what, they are completely in the wrong. I can't,
Hmm.
because of the situation, I can't say that. I can see it from a bunch of different angles. Sure, they should have acted differently.
Hmm.
But you know, shrug. They didn't harm their game. They didn't harm their players. They did offend a little bit of the journalistic entity,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you know, the the journalistic as a whole, journalism as a whole, should not say stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, so they're kind of in the right, kind of in the wrong. I don't feel like you should uh, damage their like other people who might enjoy their future games for that reason. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's a difficult one. It makes me dizzy to think about it.
I know. And it's just going to be, I think, one that's going to keep coming up in the future, especially as we said before, with the relationship between developers and the streamers and YouTubers. Because
Yeah.
technically, as we know, it's not, people are profiting off of these video games. When Markiplier, or PewDiePie, again, you can insert big name YouTuber here, makes a video about a game, they are earning money from that game, either through supporters donating through Patreon or from YouTube or Twitch ad revenue.
Hmm.
And they're basically making it off of a work that someone else made. But as I'm sure you're as aware of as I am, there's the fact that these people are adding to these games, the whole idea of fair use. But what people will argue is, what is that point of fair use? Like, if I just, for instance, if I upload 2 hours of me playing Dark Souls with no commentary whatsoever, is that really transformative? Do I need to have, does there have to be someone talking? Do we need to have, like the little person in the corner, reacting to what's on screen? Or even then, if it's just someone saying they're reacting to someone else playing the game, is that transformative?
Yeah, we're getting into a whole meta discussion here.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, it is very philosophical at a certain point, and when law and philosophy intersect is when I feel like you run into some problems.
Yeah. And it's not one that's going to be solved anytime soon, because we've seen these cases of, like, when Jim Sterling was sued by a digital homicide. Um, the case that happened with, like, a composer like a few months ago for an indie game that I can't remember off the top of my head. Alex something. I forget the full thing that happened there, but this was another case of that DMCA either being abused by a developer, or them trying to go after someone like that. But it again raises that question of, does someone on YouTube or Twitch, do they have the right to do this? Like Nintendo, for instance, they just say no. If you want to play or stream Nintendo footage, you're not getting 1 cent of that ad revenue. And again, it just gets very tricky, because the second someone makes a decision about this, like if it actually goes to court and a judge makes a ruling, that's it.
Yeah,
That
that's it.
will set the precedent going forward.
Yeah, no, I am 100% in favor, and
Mm-hmm.
I am not a reviewer by any stretch of the imagination. I don't necessarily have good like you can pick apart a game's design and everything. I don't do that. I'm just an idiot playing a game when I'm streaming, but um, I really appreciate even that. I appreciate idiots playing games. I appreciate people breaking it apart. I appreciate reviews. I feel like that's all entertainment. It's all valid. Um, a game, they like one will cause me to not buy a game, and one will cause me to buy a game. So I don't see the problem. Um, Again, this could be argued forever, and I know we're probably on the same page with this. It's just yes, support people who do this. It's another form of entertainment. I feel like it is,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're just playing it and there's no sound.
Mm-hmm.
It it's a different experience. It really is, and I don't know. Shrug on my end, but it is. I support it 100%, and there were I wish it would go to court and that's the ruling that would happen. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
also very nervous that that's the ruling that would not happen.
Mm-hmm. And that, of course, I guess here's a question for you, Rob, and for those of you watching this as well. Do you think the game is a factor when it comes to fair use? Like, again, something like Dark Souls or Devil May Cry or even a strategy game, there's a lot that can happen that is based on the player skill level. But what if we're talking about something like Gone Home or Firewatch or hell, even just like a standard 8 to 10 hour, AAA game that the experience is going to be the same regardless of if I'm playing the game, if a pro's playing the game, if someone new's playing the game, we're all going through the exact same path. Do
Yeah,
you think that has a factor when it comes to fair use like that?
I do. There is one thing that I've been thinking of off and on, and that's for gosh, like interactive fiction. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's one of those things where it's a little questionable to me because it's basically someone reading a book, more or less.
Yeah.
And if you went on screen and read a book, that is a little iffy because you're basically
Mm-hmm.
just reading someone else's fiction, and there's no way to reinterpret what's been said unless that person pauses and starts, contemplating all the different paragraphs or
Mm-hmm.
breaking it apart. But like that is kind of ruining someone's work because a lot of work went into that, and now any
Mm-hmm.
reason to buy the game is gone, more or less.
Yeah.
But for a game that's very large, open ended, there's a lot more questions to be had there. Like I could watch someone play all the way through, uh, like Torchlight, what I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
Watch people play all the way through Torchlight. When I played Titan Quest, I watched people play all the way through
Mm-hmm.
Titan Quest. And of course, because there's challenge there, because I'm interested in the lore
Mm-hmm.
and all the RPG stuff, I like playing with the mechanics of the game. But then, yeah, hey, we'll do it all day. I'll do it myself, and I'll enjoy it, and I can get more out of it. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's those questions. And then the other question for me is when someone's streaming. Pardon me, because I've been dinged for having music in the background. Excuse me again. Oh my gosh. Uh, what happens if you're playing something like Guitar Hero or Grand Theft Auto and a legitimate high caliber song comes on? Does your audio get muted when you're doing your video, or
Mm-hmm.
how does that work? There's so many ins and outs, and I know the music industry is super complicated here. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I've only touched the surface of how complicated the music industry is with their contracts and stuff.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, it's just there's too much here. It's a ball of wax and can of worms and all kinds of things like that.
Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and as Goro said, there's also a debate about what kind do we consider those games on the same front. That's a good another hour and a half discussion, I think,
Yeah.
easily. Like, do
Yeah.
we put something like Gone Home or Dear Esther in the same boat as something like Dark Souls or World of Warcraft or Skyrim or anything like that? And as you said, Rob, like for those games, like there are games out there that if you watch someone play it, that's it. Like, if I watch someone play, like, the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker, for instance, there's not going to be much else I'm going to really need to get out of that game. It
Mm.
does have replayability in some sense, but it's not the same as me sitting there and trying to figure out how to build a character in Diablo 3,
Mm.
or taking a customized group of characters in a MOBA, or again, or hell, we could even bring like the whole esports thing in. Like,
Yeah.
someone playing a game at the esports level is fundamentally different than watching some random person play Counter Strike or
Yeah.
League of Legends. Like, they obviously have to add something to it. Hence why they are considered pro players.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Hmm.
Gosh, it's yeah. My brain just keeps so many directions here.
Yeah, we could get Josh on about his thoughts on like whole
All right.
esports and that. Oh my goodness, we'll be here till like 4 o'clock in the morning, I think, with the three of us talking about it. But it's not an easy issue. But like I think we both agree that I think it does have to be settled, either for good or for ill, at some point, because it's the same thing with a lot of the other aspects of the game industry. Without having a formal ruling, it's basically anything goes. And while that can be good for some places, it can be very bad for others, such as the whole discussion again of unions in the game industry. And do people working in the game industry get any rights like that.
Yeah, yeah. I've always thought that they should. I mean, not just
Hmm.
because I've never felt like I was, uh, ripped off or anything in my career. Never once. I mean, I've enjoyed the ride, as it were.
Hmm.
But I mean, I see that there are people being exploited. It's an industry where there's a lot of competition, and because there's a lot of competition, people get exploited. People get paid less
Hmm.
for what their talents are worth, and they're forced to work on 100-hour weeks, or else they'll get fired. And it's that kind of thing that requires a union to kind of settle. And I already just got us off topic, so I'll stop and we can rein it back in a little bit. Um,
and and again, like anything that we talk about, that's a good hour and a half discussion because it is
yeah.
that deep of a situation. Now, I guess as a quick tangent slash advertisement, I am in the middle of planning the next developer live stream. So I'm going to probably, where I'm just waiting for a final confirmation, but next Wednesday, at the time of this recording, that would be September 20th, around 9 Eastern, I'm going to be hanging out with some developers. They're friends of John Brieger that I talked about before on playtesting. I believe they're working on either a card. No, I think it is. I think they're working on a card game Kickstarter for like casual audiences. So that's going to be very interesting. Like I said, once I have things locked down, I'll make an announcement video regarding it. But let me check our time here. We are just about under an hour, including our little pre-stream, I guess, getting people in kind of thing. So I guess before we move on to, I guess, one last topic to talk about, and this is one we were just getting to on Discord, I guess anything going on with you, Rob, in terms of games you've been playing?
In terms of games I've been playing, it's kind of the same. I'd mentioned Vainglory earlier, and that's one I've been playing, and I've been watching some of the events so I can learn it
Mm-hmm.
better. Although it is definitely a dumbed down times 10 Dota or League of
Mm-hmm.
Legends. So it's something, someone like me, I can embrace it, of course. A bunch of mobile games because they're easy for me to play here and there. But Torchlight 2, the thing that I've been doing lately is finally getting back into my game design, which I hope to be making some more progress in the next week or two. So that's what I've got going on.
Nice. And this week coming up, I'll have the week free because in 2 weeks, on the 26th and 27th, I'm doing two presentations, one on each day. So I'm going to try to get back into working on the ebook. I just had Rob give me some of his thoughts on the draft I have, so I'm going to get back to it and see what I can do regarding that. And of course, see about hopefully finding some mobile games I like enough to talk about. Again, we could either do a Dark Souls play or maybe we'll do Clash of Clans. We'll do a whole live stream of that, or oh my goodness, so many of those little games on there.
Yeah.
Again, as someone who grew up buying video games, it is just it's like a knife in the chest when I see go watch a video and you'll get an extra life, or
Yeah.
spend $10 and you'll get super status. I'm like, just let me buy the game.
Yeah, no, I went through that whole period, and now I'm just like, okay, well, at a certain point, it really gets to be sick because you're looking through the app store, and it's like $2. Why would I pay $2?
Hmm.
It really does. It really messes with your mind. It
Hmm.
does because it's like these people deserve money. These games cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to make, if
Hmm.
not millions. Like Clash of Clans, they threw money at that thing.
Hmm.
It is a good. I mean, you play it and you'll be like, okay, I understand why people like it,
Hmm.
but then you realize how much money it costs to make and keep going, and how much money people are pouring into it when you yourself are pretty sure you're never going to put a dime into it, and
Hmm.
and it's just the mind boggles at how they make the money, and they're making it.
Hmm.
So it's a strange business model, and whoever thought of it is a mad genius who needs to be like shot in the face. It's just it really is. It's like an evil kind of thing.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Oh yeah, whenever I see like posts on Gamma Sutra, people saying these are the best ways to monetize your game, or most effective ads for games, or when do you want to charge people? Every time I read that, I just feel more and more daggers going into my heart as I read
Yeah.
those articles.
I mean, I've been to conferences
Hmm.
like Casual Connect, for example, and I really like Casual Connect. And I know some of the people there, and but a lot of it's just about monetizing mobile games and free to play, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes you want to take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of dirty, because they really are. It's like they are specifically targeting very particular types of people, and the term whales, everybody's heard that one before.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that's talked about the most. That is the
Mm-hmm.
person who will give you $1,000 just by themselves because they like playing your game so much, or just have the money, or whatever. When you look at some of the purchase packs on these
Mm-hmm.
games, it really opens your eyes, because they will have a lot of them will have package purchase prices of over $1,000, and that's where you just stand back. You're like, okay, $100, that's high, but I guess. And then when it goes beyond that, that's just when you do the math and you're like, $100 doesn't buy you that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's when you start to realize, wow, they're really taking advantage of a certain type of person here. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you have to think about, like, is it too much like gambling, or
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing, where it is something in the brain, and chemical reactions in the brain that they are taking advantage of. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where regulation needs to be considered. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's oh so it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, and it's about like washing our hands. After we both looked at G2A last week, I told Josh we both needed to take a shower after that
Yeah.
segment. We both went on G2A at the same time. But yeah, like I'm playing the game like Idle Heroes. Like I said earlier, I downloaded Fire Emblem Heroes, and as someone who studies game design, it's very easy for me to sit there going, I know exactly why they're doing this, or this is how they're getting their money, and it's just again like one of those very weird things. Like I in like the games like that, as you just said, I see these like $40 bundles, $100 bundles. I'm sitting there deciding whether or not I want to spend $10 on Dark Souls 2 or Quick Serve Delicious 2. I'm like, I just can't, like, my mind just can't comprehend getting any kind of value of making those big money purchases. Earlier in this cast, we talked about upgrading the computer, or upgrading computers and whatnot. Like, if I spent $1,000 on anything, why would I spend it on one mobile game? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I always thought that if you reach a certain point of actually giving someone money, because I know how much a big everyone here who watches this knows that a big like a really solid retail AAA title is going to cost around $60.
Mm-hmm.
If you're spending that much money on a mobile title that is considerably smaller in scope,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's where I feel like, okay, now you've got full access to the game. You've given us $40, you've given us $60 so
Yeah.
far. You got full access now. You get everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I feel like, okay, that would be fair, but no, just keep putting the hand out. More
Mm-hmm.
money, please.
And it's not, and it's the same thing. You're not buying permanent upgrades or advantages. You're always buying something temporary. You're buying jewels or coins, or maybe you'll get a little bit of experience boost or stuff along those lines. And again, like as you said, like if I could spend money, and like I would rather just have like two versions of the game. The common version, and then the uh, insert name here, uh, premium version, and the premium version gets you all the advantages, and let's say it costs $5 or $10, and then that's it. Just let me get my meaningful upgrades, and then move on. But again, that's not how it's designed. Obviously, you have to pay $5, then 10, and then it just keeps going more and more until either you run out of money, or there's just nothing left for you to buy. Like
And oh, go ahead.
I was just
Sorry.
gonna say, I was trying out that Simpsons Tapped Out game, and I'm like, am I really gonna want to sit and play this as my downtime? I'm like, no. Like, why would I want to do this? Again, like when I can go into the computer and play like a actual city builder, or any one of the other dozens of games I have sitting around I have to get to.
Well, and that right there though is
Mm-hmm.
kind of the big
Yeah.
differentiator, is that most of the people who put their time into this, and that's not to say even all of them, but like us as PC or console gamers, I mean, we've got our own addictions we have to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
with regards to that. But when you talk about the mobile phone, well, now everybody's got one, and not everybody has a computer, and certainly not everybody knows about Steam
Mm-hmm.
enough to even play a game on there. So it's their primary visibility into the world of games for a lot of people. And it's also very casual, so people who wouldn't have any interest in buying a console can certainly sit down and play Candy Crush. And one could argue that paying $600 in Candy Crush, if that's your only game, is less money than I've certainly spent on PC games. But like I say, I like to think, well, I've got way more entertainment options than you do. But that's just, I don't know, it's how it is. I did play Shop Heroes for a very long time, and
Yeah,
that's
me
available
too.
on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that was a very good experience. I mean, I might have paid $1 somewhere along the line, maybe $2. Um, but it was a good community experience. I'm very rarely involved in communities in a game, and that was one that got me, and I enjoyed it. And it lived its life, and I'm done with it now. I'm never going back because
Mm-hmm.
I can't get back that character I had anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's the same thing for me with just about any idle or clicker game I've ever played. That I will get hardcore hooked on it for usually 3 to 7 days, and then as soon as I hit that point that I feel the least bit disinterested in it, it's gone. It is wiped
yeah,
from my mind, uninstalled. I will never think about it again. And
yeah,
and that's the kind of the weird thing when we look at it just in the PC side. Because these are games that we are supposed to be buying, and then we get more value from them. And in some cases, we only have to spend extra money for it.
yeah, yeah. And as we grow up, as a lot of most people grew up, even these days, paying for games, and so that's the model we know. And it is going to be a little weird. I feel like I have to open my mind a little bit. Maybe it's very legitimate, and in 10 years, it's just going to be normal, and that's how people believe things should be done.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I mean, I know subscriptions now is a big thing, like I'd mentioned earlier. So that's not something I would have imagined as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I like subscriptions. I don't like the free to play model, but hey, maybe there's something about it that I don't quite get. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think, as we said earlier, the real danger of this, and I think this will be the last point, then we'll move on to a brief final topic, is that it also hurts trying to get those premium games. As you said a few minutes ago, Rob, like, when are you going to see a mobile game that's $20? When are you going to see one that's even $10? And it's just the market doesn't support that, so it leads into that self-repeating cycle that the only games that are going to succeed are the lowest price, but the lowest price means the lowest quality.
Yeah. Yeah, although not in this case. I mean, the free to play
Mm-hmm.
games are, boy, they can be high quality.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2, they have a kind of a slightly smaller versions available
Mm-hmm.
for like what, 3, 4, $5. And then I go on Steam because they have the same
Mm-hmm.
too, and I'd be spending $20 if I bought both of them and their plugins. So um, I go back to the phone, even though I know I'd enjoy it more on the PC. The controls would be better and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I know that the games should be $10, $20 on there for the top tier
Mm-hmm.
games. But yeah, it's stuck. It can't, almost can't ever get there
Mm-hmm.
unless Apple or Samsung or one of them just says, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Minimum price $5 for games now, just minimum. That's what would have to happen because there's too
And
much ability to undersell.
that would, and while that would be great, that would just,
But yeah,
devastate.
it would.
It would just, that would be, we talk about the YouTube apocalypse, that would be the iOS store apocalypse right
Yeah,
there for so many games. And it is just such a weird thing, and it goes back to, again, this could easily be another tangent about how fast the game industry moves. Again, I remember like 10 years ago having my little flip phone that was going to be the end of everything, and now here's how you know when the technology is firmly adopted: when I actually get it. When I actually adopt a new piece of technology, that's the sign that it's here to stay. So, smartphones are not going anywhere at this point. If they
yeah,
were, it would have happened long before I decided to get one. But, like, it's just it moves so rapidly that it's really hard to set these ground rules. And if we start talking more about that, we are a little over an hour 8 in, we'll be here all night. But
Yeah.
here's the last topic. I think this is going to be a small one because it's kind of an interesting one. Josh was telling me about this on the Discord, and it's about the discussion as to for people who follow you, do you allow them to, friend you on Facebook, on Steam, follow you like elsewhere besides, your main channel or whatnot? And it's a very interesting discussion. It really leads into that idea of, who are you when you're online like that? Like for myself, like during this was great during when I played Bloodborne, we were doing a live stream of it like at 1 o'clock in the morning. We got into a whole philosophical discussion about what it means to be online. That's what we were talking about when trying to play Bloodborne. We just have life discussions like that, and it's the difference between having that online persona, the people who will, again, like have like different color hair, or they'll put on like a whole skit while they're doing this stuff, versus just being yourself. And do you separate those two when you are an online persona like that? Like, do you allow someone who follows you to friend you on Facebook or follow you on Steam or stuff like that? And it's a very interesting thing. Like, one of the people who watched me on Darkest Dungeon, he did send me a Steam friend request, and he's like, "I'm surprised you actually did that." Like, I didn't really care about it at the time, but like that, there's that little voice in the back of my mind that's saying, "Do I want to give, like, do I want to have like a public and private persona, or do I just let it all out like that?" And I don't know. Like, what do you think about that, Rob?
Well, my opinion is going to be very different because the way I associate that comment that was made was, well, I mean, do you expect if you send Lady Gaga a friend request that she's going to friend you back? Because you're talking about an entertainer and someone who you follow as a possible fan, and in that case, is that the correct relationship? Now here, certainly there are way more streamers and there's way more people like that. You just have to keep that in mind. Now, someone like me, I'm doing it for fun. I'm doing it as a hobby. I mean, I love talking to Sun, and I love talking to Light Pyro, one of the other guys who pops in, and I think it's great, and I would consider myself friends of theirs. And I feel like that is completely fine for someone like me. But if you have 100 people watching at the same time, or 200, or 1,000, or 10,000, then it becomes harder. It's not really just about whether or not you should, because I feel like, yeah, why not? I mean, people are people, and it's great to be, friends with people and stuff. But when you have that many people, you can't keep up a conversation while you're trying to do a stream. Like here, we got a few people here, and I love, Algorta's questions and comments. I think they're very insightful, and I would love to spend more time talking to them. But like, if there was 500 people, we couldn't even follow the conversation, much less pick out things to respond to. So developing a relationship with someone, however it is, whether it be a friend or just kind of an acquaintance online, I think that's great. But at a certain point, to expect that as
the rule.
Like, I'll watch Dota 2, and there's the commentators. Oh, there's great commentators, but I can't expect them to friend me back if I friend them. I feel like that's just not gonna happen. So, or it's not even something I would expect. So it's just, what, if it's just, you gotta just take it how it goes. If there's a conversation, great. If not, I don't know. I'm talking way too much about this for someone who's kind of a hobbyist, but it just seems I don't know. It's one of those where I'm just like, it's kind of common sense.
Yeah, like, I'll give you a perfect example of this. I'm kind of glad Josh follows up, because it actually happened to me yesterday. I'm sorry, not yesterday, Wednesday. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry, Tuesday. I'm forgetting all the days now. But after my presentation I did at the library, someone said, "Oh, I followed you on Twitter after, I followed you on Twitter before I actually came out to see you." I'm like, really? Like, it kind of surprised me. And then I got a message from someone saying, "I missed your presentation, but I really wanted to talk to you." And this guy not only subscribed on YouTube, he subscribed on Twitch, even though I don't use it anymore, and he sent me a friend request on Steam. And it's very, and again, like, as someone like myself like that, like I am introverted. It may come as a shock to some of you or not at all, but I am usually a very private person. Like I'm not the kind of guy who's going to go out every night to a club or a bar or anything like that and just bare my soul to someone. So it kind of feels weird in that sense. Again, like for me, to like all of a sudden people start sending me friend requests and follow me all over the place. That like it just feels like at what point do you lose the personal touch? As you said, Rob, like right now I turned it off, but we have a few regulars. Of course, we have people on every night to watch, and we can have those conversations. But if we have like 200-300 people in here all messaging us and following us all at the same time, like, are we really able to build a relationship or just even have a conversation like that?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's like like I was saying, if for some reason my channel exploded in some kind of monumental joke to the rest of the world, and it would be like, well, yeah, I still talk to Sun, I still talk to Pyro, but everybody else suddenly becomes this blur because I did not have that relationship with them up front. That's just like Mr. Ojeda here. I feel like that would be the same thing. Like I would be able to pick his name out of a lineup and be able to say, okay, well, I know you, I know your opinions, I know how you feel about things. Everybody else, I can barely follow what's going on. I have to focus on the conversation. So it's a weird topic.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything from XP, one of my regulars. Like he kind of like went away on work, and I've never seen him again. So hopefully he can come back on because we had some really great conversations there. But again, that's how like when you're starting out, you have like one or two people who are there. You build up that rapport with them. Like right now, we are now closely approaching 2,300 subscribers on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel, and I still maybe only know 6, maybe 7 people who actually show up like that, who are like the regulars. Oh, I'm sorry, we're at 2294 as of right now, which is really nice. But like I may only know 6 or 7 of those almost 2,300 people. And like, I think what El Gordo says is a really good point, that only you as a person can draw that line. Now, I think for people like us, I think it's easier because we don't have two different personas. Like we don't act differently on stream or in videos that we do in real life. And that's what also helps me with like my presentations and talking to people. Like when I talk to you or to our fans or to when we have a live interview, it's the same way as I'm commenting when I'm in front of 8 people, 30 people, 5 people, whatever, doing a presentation. It's natural to me. And I think is different. Like if this was a completely different show, like when we're on here, we're in complete dress up. There's wildly stuff, and then we take it all off and we're normal. That would be, I think, a different story.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's where you cross the line from like informer or just person into entertainer, and that is very different. Yeah.
And it's again one of those very tricky topics that are coming up now with the rise of YouTubers. And even referencing this back to our previous topic, like PewDiePie is not some random guy anymore. Doesn't matter where he is someone with over 50 million subscribers. So anything he says holds a hell of a lot more weight compared to someone with 5 subscribers or 100 subscribers. And at what point do you stop being yourself, and at what point do you become a persona or something online like that?
Yeah, I think it's almost impossible to avoid that, even though you are very much you just as you say, and I'm similar. I'm an introvert when it comes to being outside. So if someone were to come up and say, oh man, and start talking to me like a mile a minute, like I ramble on and on nonsensically on my streams, and if someone were to expect that immediately out of me, I'd be like, oh, I have no what's going on here. I'm very confused. But yeah, I mean, so there is a bit of a disconnect because we're only seeing one view of you. Just like people only hear, because I don't have my video on when I'm streaming, one voice of me. So it does. There is a persona there, even if it's even if it's just you and speaking in your
Hmm.
voice and in your mannerisms, it's still only one aspect of your life that people are seeing, which makes it very difficult to come to a conclusion about a human being.
Yeah. And as we said, it can become very dangerous when people associate the entertainer or the persona with the real person. And again, that just leads into so many more discussions that we don't have time to get into tonight.
Yeah.
But I think we will wrap things up. I didn't have a podcast up for last week just because I was bogged down from my temporary work, but I'm going to be working on one for either tomorrow or Saturday. This is going to be my interview with the two of the three creators of the Dark Side Detective, which was a indie adventure game that came out a few weeks ago. Well, probably a month or so ago at the time of this stream. We talked about designing the game, the crazy writing and humor in it, and stuff like that. And for tonight's stream, I'm debating if I do just want to bite the bullet and try that Dark Souls 2 out. I mean, I can actually, thanks to the whole refund policy, we can see in 2 hours if it is different enough to make it a full Let's Play, or just throw it back if it's annoying me too much in that 2 hour period. But I think we will wrap things up here. So again, for thank you so much for coming on, Rob. And if you want to
Of
follow
course.
him, twitch.tv/IndieVoyageRob. You are still streaming on weekends, and I think you're still planning on doing weekly streaming or weekday streaming too, right?
Yeah, as soon as I can get it, I think I might actually do some of the game design stuff during the
Mm-hmm.
week. But yeah, weekends, 2 p.m. Pacific time, which I believe is 9 p.m. GMT. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Don't
what I
ask
do.
me about the time zones. I'm still trying to get those figured out. But like I said, for you folks
Thank you.
watching this either live or recorded, thank you so much. If you're new, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And again, if you are working on an upcoming game, again, the PC, PS4, now iOS, and you'd like me to take a look at it, definitely don't hesitate to get in touch. Again, for those of you watching this, the next live stream, developer live stream, will be Wednesday, September 20th. I will be making a separate announcement about that probably over the weekend. I still need to think of what next week's Dissecting Design will going to be. And also, if you missed the announcement of this month's Patreon, the $100 goal will be a live play of Resident Evil 7. So if we get some more donations, I think we're about like halfway there now. I'll be able to do that in time for Halloween. And we need to have a Halloween chat at some point, Rob, or a horror one.
Uh,
And
that
then
sounds great.
and then, of course, oh my goodness, the year's almost over. We'll have to have like a game of the year discussion. That should be, well, like minimum 5 hours, I think, between the
Oh
two
gosh,
of us.
I gotta start doing my homework there.
Yes.
Got to get to the games that weren't done 5 years ago.
All right. So let us say goodnight for now. So, once again, have a great evening. I will be back on hopefully later on tonight. So I may just try that Dark Souls 2 out, the director's cut, see if it is any better for me. But otherwise, thank you so much again, Rob, for coming on. And I'm sure we'll be chatting frequently on the Discord channel and, of
Of
course,
course.
next Thursday as well. All right. So thanks again for coming out, folks, and have a great evening.